As a child, I always had a strong desire to pursue a career that involved managing both people and resources. This aspiration stayed with me throughout my education, leading me to choose a business course specializing in human resource management when it was time to pursue my college degree. My ultimate goal was to be in a position where I could effectively lead and guide individuals in a professional setting. Upon graduating from school, I was fortunate enough to secure an internship program with a well-known retail company. This initial working experience holds a special place in my heart, as it marked the moment when I finally gained independence and earned my very first paycheck. In order to seize this opportunity, I had to leave my hometown and relocate to a city that offered greater prospects. Thankfully, the company provided me with temporary accommodation in a comfortable 2-bedroom apartment. To my delight, I discovered that I would be sharing this apartment with a housemate named Bella. Bella is an incredibly cheerful and friendly individual who also happens to work for the same company, albeit in a different department. Like me, she had left her hometown behind to pursue her career here, and the company had kindly arranged for her to stay in the same apartment. Living with Bella turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Not only did we become great friends, but we also formed a strong support system for each other as we navigated the challenges of starting our professional lives in a new city. We would often have late-night conversations about our dreams and aspirations, and it was during one of these conversations that we realized we shared a common goal: to start our own business someday. Lately, Bella has been wearing a constant expression of sadness, prompting me to inquire about her well-being. She confides in me about her boyfriend's betrayal in their hometown, which has left her unable to focus on her work or herself. In an effort to resolve the issue, she has decided to take a 1-week leave and confront her boyfriend directly. On the day of her departure, Bella embraces me tightly, tears streaming down her face. I offer her words of encouragement, urging her to stay strong and resolve the problem with her boyfriend. Just before leaving, Bella emphasizes that I should refrain from disturbing or entering her room until her return, locking the door behind her. As the night passes and Bella fails to respond to my WhatsApp messages, worry begins to consume me. I am concerned for her safety and well-being. Desperate for answers, I dial Bella's phone number, only to have an elderly woman answer the call, presumably her mother. Bella's mother informs me that Bella is unwell and resting, but does not provide a clear explanation as to why she is unable to answer the phone. After explaining my relationship with Bella, her mother requests that I call back the following day. However, the next day comes and goes without any calls or messages from Bella. Frustrated and anxious, I decide to call Bella's number once again in the evening. And once again, her mother picks up the phone. She offers no concrete reason for Bella's lack of communication, assuring me that there is no need to worry. According to her, Bella will reach out to me once she has rested and recovered. Despite her reassurances, I can't help but feel unsettled by the uncertainty surrounding Bella's situation. Days turn into weeks, and still, there is no word from Bella. The silence is deafening, and my concern for her grows with each passing day. I find myself constantly checking my phone, hoping for a message or a call that will bring some clarity to the situation. Sleep eludes me as I toss and turn, plagued by thoughts of what could have happened to Bella. In a desperate attempt to find answers, I turn to social media. I scour Bella's profiles, searching for any signs or clues that may shed light on her situation. But all I find are old photos and memories, a stark reminder of the happiness she once had before her world came crashing down. The following evening, as I diligently worked on my laptop in the comfort of my room, I couldn't help but notice that Bella's room appeared to be ajar. Assuming that she had returned from her hometown, I eagerly opened my door only to find that her room was still securely locked. Considering the recent turmoil she had experienced with her boyfriend, it seemed plausible that Bella had entered her room and promptly closed the door, still consumed by her emotions. Curiosity got the better of me, and I approached Bella's room, attempting to unlock the door. However, my efforts were in vain, and despite calling out her name, there was no response. Disheartened, I returned to my room and resumed my work. After some time, I decided to reach out to Bella by calling her number, only to be greeted by her voicemail. It became evident that Bella was deeply distressed, to the point where she had turned off her phone. The next morning, I made another attempt to contact Bella, knocking on her door and calling out her name, but there was no answer. It slowly dawned on me that Bella had not returned home. Heading to the office, I completed my tasks for the day before, heading to a nearby restaurant for dinner. Upon my return to the apartment, while waiting for the elevator, I bumped into one of my neighbors. Engaging in conversation, my neighbor inquired about Bella's well-being, mentioning that she had seen her sitting on the balcony but received no response to her greetings. It seemed apparent that Bella was grappling with her own troubles, yet remained silent about them. Back in the apartment, I stood before Bella's room, persistently knocking on the door, desperately urging her to acknowledge my calls and messages. I questioned why she chose to keep her problems to herself and implored her to confide in me. In a last-ditch effort, I grabbed a piece of paper and wrote a heartfelt message, assuring her that I was there for her and that she could seek solace in my room at any time. Slipping the note under her door, I patiently waited for a response, but none came. Exhausted, I retreated to my own room and drifted off to sleep, hoping that Bella would find the strength to reach out to me soon. The following morning, as the sun began to rise, I groggily made my way to the kitchen to make myself a cup of coffee. As I poured the hot liquid into my mug, I glanced over at the table where the letter had been left the previous night. To my surprise, it was still there, untouched. A sense of unease washed over me, and I couldn't help but feel that something was not right. As I walked back to my room, I noticed a faint shadow moving beneath the door of Bella's room. My heart skipped a beat, and concern began to fill me. Bella was usually an early riser, always full of energy and ready to face the day, but today she seemed to be hiding away, refusing to emerge from her room or speak to anyone. My curiosity grew, and I couldn't help but wonder what had happened to Bella during her visit to her hometown. Had something gone wrong? Had her relationship taken a turn for the worse? As the day wore on, my worry turned into fear. I couldn't shake the feeling that Bella might be contemplating something drastic, even contemplating ending her own life. Determined to help her, I made my way to the office and sought out our general manager. I explained the situation to him, my voice trembling with concern. Together, we decided to seek assistance from the apartment management and security to gain access to Bella's room. We needed to make sure she was safe and get her the help she needed. With a sense of urgency, we made our way to her door, hoping to find her inside. To our surprise, when we opened the door, the room was empty. Bella was nowhere to be found. Panic began to rise within me, and I frantically dialed her number once more, only to discover that it was switched off. My heart sank, and I felt a knot forming in my stomach. Desperate for answers, we searched for an emergency contact person at our company. After what felt like an eternity, we managed to find Bella's father's number. When I finally got through to him, he explained the situation to me, and I was left in shock. Bella was in the hospital, having been in a coma for 2 days. She had attempted to take her own life. The weight of his words crashed down on me, leaving me breathless and overwhelmed with guilt. How had I not seen the signs? How had I failed to help her when she needed it the most? I was overwhelmed with nervousness when I noticed a shadow lurking inside Bella's room, and to add to my unease, a neighbor mentioned seeing Bella on the balcony, but receiving no response to their greetings. Seeking solace, I confided in my manager, hoping for a different accommodation, only to be disappointed as there were no extra houses available for me to stay. With no other options at hand, I reluctantly returned to the same apartment. However, this time, I decided not to keep a watchful eye on Bella's room. As I entered my room, exhaustion took over, and I found myself lying on the bed, consumed by thoughts of this perplexing situation. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep, only to be abruptly awakened by the sound of Bella's room door creaking open. Fear gripped me, but my curiosity compelled me to cautiously open my own door and observe Bella's room. The sound emanating from within confirmed my suspicion that someone was present. Suddenly, the door slowly swung open, revealing the silhouette of a girl resembling Bella, emerging from the room. Overwhelmed by what I had witnessed, I let out a piercing scream and sprinted towards the main door, desperate to escape. My scream reverberated through the apartment, prompting concerned neighbors to open their doors and confront the chaotic scene. In the midst of my hysteria, I couldn't contain my tears and continued to scream uncontrollably. The commotion within the apartment escalated, leaving everyone bewildered. After some time, a compassionate neighbor approached me and offered a temporary refuge at her house for the night, considering the late hour and my impending work obligations in the morning. Grateful for the respite, I accepted her kind gesture, hoping that a change of environment would bring some semblance of peace to my troubled mind. As I stepped into my neighbor's house, a wave of relief washed over me. The warm and inviting atmosphere provided a stark contrast to the eerie and unsettling apartment I had just fled. My neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, led me to a cozy guest room, assuring me that I could stay as long as I needed. The room was adorned with soft pastel colors and plush furnishings, instantly soothing my frayed nerves. Exhausted from the night's events, I sank into the comfortable bed, feeling a sense of security I hadn't experienced in days. The silence of the room enveloped me, offering a much-needed respite from the chaos that had consumed my life. As I closed my eyes, I couldn't help but wonder about the mysterious figure I had seen in Bella's room. Who was she? And what was she doing there? The next morning, I awoke to the gentle rays of sunlight streaming through the curtains. The events of the previous night felt like a distant nightmare, but the unease still lingered in the back of my mind. Mrs. Johnson greeted me with a warm smile and a comforting cup of tea, assuring me that I was safe in her home. I find myself returning to the house, preparing myself for another day of work. However, on this particular day, as soon as I step foot into the office, my manager delivers devastating news. Bella, a dear friend and colleague, had passed away the day before. The news hits me like a tidal wave, and tears well up in my eyes uncontrollably. Sensing my grief, my manager kindly suggests that I take some time off to rest and mourn at home. Grateful for the understanding, I decide to take a half-day leave and make my way back to my apartment. Back in the solitude of my apartment, I am overwhelmed by sorrow as memories of Bella flood my mind. Clutching onto her clothes, I find solace in the embrace of her belongings, tears streaming down my face. As night falls, my manager and a few of my colleagues pay me a visit, not only to offer their support but also to help pack Bella's belongings. It is during this process that we stumble upon a box placed by her bed. Inside, we discover a collection of heartfelt gifts and love cards, presumably from her boyfriend. It becomes clear that Bella had intended to return this box to him. With heavy hearts, we gather all of Bella's belongings and arrange for them to be sent to her grieving family members. 6 months later, upon the completion of my internship, I return to the familiar embrace of my hometown. However, I cannot bring myself to part with the photograph of Bella and me that adorns my room. She was not only a good person, but also a guiding light in my life, always there to lend a helping hand. I believe that she has become an angel, watching over us from above. As for Bella's boyfriend, his whereabouts remain unknown to me. If he played a role in Bella's untimely demise, I trust that karma will find its way to him. In my hometown, I find solace in the familiar sights and sounds that once brought me comfort. The grief still lingers, but being surrounded by loved ones helps ease the pain. Thank you for watching. That's all for today's video. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you have any suggestions and experience related to the content, feel free to leave them in the comments below and join us on this journey.